We are continuing with Parshat Ki Teitzei. Parshat Ki Teitzei LaMilchama Al Oivecha. And there are 73, according to some opinions, there's 74 commandments in this Torah portion, 74 from the 613 commandments that God commanded the Jewish people. Some of them are prohibitions, some of them are positive commandments. And yesterday we went through about 15 of them, 15, 16. Okay. You have a negative commandment. Negative commandment. Don't wear a garment that has wool and linen together. It's called shatnez. It's called kilai begadim. What exactly is wool? Wool from a horse? Camel? No, it's wool that comes from a kosher animal. And it has to be from a ram or a goat, a ram or a sheep. I think also that goat is also okay. All right. What about you sitting on top of it? Right on top of it, says that's from the rabbis. So the rabbis say it's forbidden even to sit on it, even if you have 10 garments on top of it, 10 garments of silk, and underneath all the 10 garments is a garment that's woven with wool and flax. According to the rabbis, you're not allowed to sit on it. So you have to check, even some people are very careful to check even their car seats, even though I haven't seen anybody do it. But you're supposed to be careful. But your clothes for sure. Positive commandment. You want to get married? You have to marry a woman according to the system of Judaism. You have to officially, either you give her money, we talked about this yesterday, either you give her a coin or a ring, something that say you are married to me. And you have to give her a bill of marriage, a marriage certificate, a ketubah. What exactly is from the Torah and what's from the rabbis? You'll look it up and you'll see a positive commandment. Don't say that your wife, when you married her as a virgin. And if she was a virgin, don't say she wasn't. Don't make it up. A name that's called Motzi Shem Ra. If a person does put why a person would do that, I don't know, but there's all sorts of people in the world. If you decided a Jewish man marries a woman and she is a virgin and he says that she is not, and she can prove otherwise, actually the burden of proof is on him, so then it says that he can never divorce her unless she wants to. In those days, it was hard to find a husband. And a husband like that who would want to marry him. But if she still wants to be married, he cannot divorce her no matter how bad it is. Anyway, the punishment is a very bad punishment. It says, excuse me. There. A negative commandment that he cannot divorce her all of his life. On the other hand, if it was proved that she did have relations with him, with another man, and that she, after they were married, of course, and she hid it from him. Okay, then it says that the punishment is very severe from the house of her father. And now we have the whole thing of what if there's two witnesses that come and they say, yes, we saw that she had relations with another man, and then you bring two more witnesses that say that the first two witnesses were with us, then they get the same punishment as they wanted to give to her, which is stoning. This does not apply nowadays. In fact, like we said so many times, that the death penalty stopped before the end of the Second Temple. So there was no, and like I said before, we said it so many times, Rabbi Akiva said that if he was alive when the time that there was a death penalty, that nobody would get killed. It was so difficult to fulfill all the conditions that are necessary in order to actually have someone killed. A positive commandment to anyone who does have to be punishable, is punishable by death, by stoning, should be stoned to death. And the way it was stoned, it says the person was taken up to a high place with a stone on his chest, and he was pushed off, and he fell down with the stone on. And then, if he was still alive, he would be stoned. There were 4 types of death. 4 types of death. Altogether, the people that punishable by death by stoning are 18. Are 18 people punishable by death. One of them is idolatry, etc. And sometimes idolatry is punishable by sword. That's if the whole town does it. But this is one of the punishments. If a person is punishable by death by stoning, so there's a positive commandment to carry out that. Negative commandment. Do not punish anyone who did a sin by coercion. If a person was coerced to do a sin, or he wasn't of normal mind, intelligence, or something was forcing him, someone put a gun to his head and said, do this sin or I'll kill you. Even if the sin was one of those sins that you're supposed to give your life for rather than do. According to Judaism, someone puts a gun up your head and says, either bow down to this cross or we'll kill you. You're supposed to say, I'll kill me. I'm not going to bow down. It's idolatry. Or if someone puts a gun up to your head and says, kill this other Jew or I'll kill you. Of course, if you can get away, you're supposed to try to get away. If you can protect yourself or something. But if you have no choice, then it's such an extreme cause. So you're supposed to say, kill me. I am not going to. 3 things. Someone puts a gun to your head and says either worship idols or kill another Jew or have relations with a forbidden woman, somebody else's wife, with your own mother, your sister, etc. So you're supposed to give yourself to death. But if, God forbid, if the person, and both of them are God forbid, but if the person does do the sin, he says, don't kill me, I'll do the sin. So he's not punishable because it was under duress. So you have to check and see. Next commandment, positive commandment. Oh, we said that. Yes, we did this. I'm sorry. Next page. Positive commandment. A person, a man that rapes a woman, if she wants to, he has to marry her. He has to marry her, unless she doesn't want to, of course. A negative commandment. Interestingly enough, in Judaism, the punishment for rape is not death. It's not a death punishment. He has to pay her the damages and the embarrassment and the healing if it was necessary. And also he has to pay a certain amount of a fine to her father or to her, but the penance is not death. Negative commandment. If a man has rapes a woman, and she wants to marry, like I say, in those days it was very hard to find, as when there was many more women than men. So he can never divorce her. He must marry her, and he can never divorce her, no matter what the conditions are. He cannot divorce her, even if she has all sorts of blemishes and things like that, unless it's something forbidden. Unless she does something forbidden, it has to marry her. She's someone else's wife, etc. Then of course he can't marry her. Negative commandment. A male who has become impotent because of some sort of an accident or whatever, and you can check up what this is, he's not allowed to get married. He can get married to a convert, and he's allowed to get married to a freed non-Jewish slave. A non-Jewish slave once they're freed, they become Jews, 100% Jews. So he can marry this non-Jewish slave or a Deut or a converted woman. It's a law from heaven. Why God wanted it this way, I don't know, but that's what he decided. Negative commandment. A mamzer cannot marry a Jewish woman. Who is a mamzer? A mamzer is a child that was born from a relationship that is punishable by death. A man has relations with his mother or his sister or his somebody else's wife or whatever, and or a mamzer, if he gets married to him, then the child, he is not allowed, that he's punishable. And also the child is a mamzer, right? Again, let's do this again. A child that comes from a relationship that is punishable by death, that child is a mamzer. That child is not allowed, or a girl also, they're not allowed to get married to a Jew. And if they do get married, they can get married to a convert, but the children are mamzering. The children will be born with the same blemish, the same problem. Strange law, seemingly very cruel. But I mean, one explanation of this, if you have to have an explanation, is there is such a thing as reincarnations in Judaism, Gilgul and Neshamot. And a lot of times that is the only way to fix up the soul from what it did in previous incarnations. And that it should come in and suffer this tremendous discomfort of being a mamzer. There is a way sort of out of it, and that he can marry a non-Jewish woman that becomes a Jewish servant. She can be bought as a servant, a woman, a non-Jewish man or woman that becomes a Jewish servant. Evet Kanani or Ama or a Shifcha Kananit, as they are practical, and for all practical purposes, they're like Jews. If it's a man, then he has the commandments of a female. But if it's a woman, so she has commandments of a female, just like so they can get married, and then what you do, the children then become slaves, and then you release the children. That's one way of getting it. We had somewhere, and then we had a fellow like that. We were considering doing it. It was a very, complicated thing, and it ended up it didn't work anyway. He left the issue. So a mamzer cannot get married to a regular Jew. Negative commandment. You cannot marry a convert that comes from Ammon. A woman, a Jew, a Jewess cannot marry a convert from Ammon and Moab. You know who those people are, Ammon and Moab? Well, nobody knows what they are, because there was in the first temple, there was a king called Sennacherib. And it says, nowadays, after Bilbil Sennacherib Kol Olam, Sennacherib came and he confused all of the nations. He conquered the whole world except for Israel. He tried to lay siege to Jerusalem in the time of the king Chizkiyahu Melech, and an angel came and destroyed his whole army. It's a haftarah about that. But all the rest of the world, he completely disarrayed and he messed everybody up. So he put the Ammonis and he put them in the place of who knows who. And so he mixed up, the people from Spain and put them into Africa, and the people from Africa, he put them into Russia and so he mixed all the world up except for the Jews. So nowadays, because he didn't conquer the Jews, so nowadays nobody knows who these Ammonis and Moavis are anyway, so you don't have to worry about it. If you make war on Ammon and Moab, you're not supposed to call to them for peace. Ammon and Moab, you're not supposed to say, like we say nowadays, only the time of Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple. A negative commandment. Not if someone from the Edom, again, we don't know who these people are nowadays, but anyone that came from Edom, we're not supposed to discourage them from converting if they want to convert to Judaism. Negative commandment. Not to despise a Mitzri that converts. after 2 generations. Again, all these commandments, again, like we said, as soon as in the middle of the first temple, when Sancherib came and confused the whole world, so these nations became swallowed up in all of mankind. A negative commandment, a tameh, someone who's impure, cannot come into the Har Habayit, Machana Levi, in the camp of the Levites, which that is all of Har Habayit. When the Jews were traveling in the desert, so they had the tabernacle, and then outside of that was immediately outside of that was where the Levites camped, and immediately outside of that was where all the rest of the Jews camped. So Har Habayit is considered to be like the camp of the Levites. After they went into Israel, of course, they went to the land of Israel, so they weren't camping around. The Levites weren't camping around like before, but still those same areas and definitions were still there. So the house, the Beit HaMikdash, that was the camp of the Kohanim, and the Har Habayit, that was the place where the Levites, that's the camp of the Levites. So anyone who's impure cannot go on Har Habayit, and that's one of the many reasons that the Lubavitcher Rebbe and others say you should not go up to the Har Habayit today. Positive commandment. When you go, and we'll do 2 more, and that's it for today. We'll go up to Ayin, let's see. A positive commandment. When you go out to war, you have to fix outside of the camp a special place to go to the bathroom to relieve yourself, not in the camp. The camp has to be holy. Positive commandment, you have to fix a shovel among your other tools so that you can dig a place to go to the bathroom in. Negative commandment, if a Jewish servant runs away from his master from outside of Israel to the land of Israel, it's forbidden to return him outside of Israel. Nowadays, there are no Hebrew servants, so you don't have to worry about that. A negative commandment that this particular, you're not allowed to trick anybody, to cheat anyone, but you're special not to cheat this servant that runs away. So you have a double sin if you cheat him or trick him with money. Negative commandment, not to have relations with a Jewish woman without marrying her. That's called a kadesha. A kadesha is a woman that, is mafker herself, or a father that is freed herself for having sexual relations with men. That's called a kadesha. And a kadesha is forbidden in Israel, and a man is not allowed to have relations with such a woman. So in other words, prostitution is out in Israel. What's it? Let's go back one more. Negative commandment. And maybe we'll stop here. Let's stop here. We'll talk about this. It's a negative commandment that, we'll do this tomorrow. Tav Kuf Ayin, Aleph, Esnon Zona, or Mechir Keleb. We'll talk about that, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's go to, screen sharing. Yesterday we talked about the Ben Sor of Amora, that he eats a certain amount of meat and it's semi-raw, and drinks this wine also that's almost undrinkable, and he steals it from his parents, and et cetera, and his parents have reproved him, reprimanded him, and he's been even lashed for his terrible behavior. And if he does exactly these things, there's a sign that he's going to be a murderer, and therefore his punishment is death. This does not exist now, this punishment. Like I said, there's no death punishment anyway nowadays. Next, if a person is killed, the judge sentenced to death, and he is killed, so you have to hang him on a tree. Of course, this cannot be taken at face value. So let's see what it means. It says this is talking about that if his mother and father have mercy on the son. So it's a whole chain of things. We started off with the soldier sees this beautiful or attractive non-Jewish woman when they're conquering cities, and he can't hold himself back, so he takes this woman to his house. Then when that happens, so it's already trouble. It says after that he's going to have, if he has another wife, so they'll be arguing with one another all the time. And then after that, it says that they'll give birth to this Ben Sor of Amor, this terrible, problematic criminal son. And then it says that you have to take the son and kill him. What if you don't kill him? So it says in the end, he's going to come out and do all sorts of sins, and he's going to be killed and based in. That's what it's talking about. The rabbis say anyone that is stoned to death gets killed. Now, some people say that not. Some people say this is only talking about someone who is stoned to death because of idolatry. So there's different opinions over here. Rashi seems to take the opinion that is calling, that everyone is, it says the Rambam, here's the Ramban, he says the Rashi brings up this opinion that every person who has been stoned to death, right, that has been punished and guilty and sentenced and executed by stoning, everyone is hung. Says the Ramban, this is not the law. The law is like the Yechid, that the only one that is stoned, and this is what we learned in the laws, in the mitzvot Hashem, is only Hamagadef, someone who curses out, God forbid, Hashem, and a person that serves idols. Those are the only ones that are stoned and hung up afterwards. Some people say that's what happened to Yashkele, that because he was an idolater, and that he was hung up, and they made the whole thing up about the cross. There's so many different. So I had a whole book of it over here. It was a Sefer of Bikuchim. The Ramban, in the days of the Ramban, the church, of course, was very, very powerful, and he had a debate. Debate is you can. I think there was even a book written, the debate, and of course, he knocked down everything that they had to say. Where the whole religion is based on just falsehood and everything, but it did absolutely no good. they said you put up a good argument, and we're going to give you a prize. And it said that because of that was one of the reasons that the Ramban, he was an old man also, but he had expended so much energy hearing these ridiculous claims and having to defend Judaism against these preposterous, ideas, that it just cost him his life. That's what they say. He just became so weak. Okay, anyway, however it is, he's not supposed to be left on this hanging up there all night. Hanging, by the way, they put his two hands together and they made a pole and they just lifted it up. They just lifted him up, and very briefly also. It says you're not allowed to do that. Don't leave this dead body of this person sentenced to death. Don't leave it hanging there overnight. And this is, by the way, a general principle which we learned before. You're supposed to try to bury a Jewish person within the day that he dies, unless there's people coming from out of Israel, outside of wherever, from far away, and it's honor to the dead person. So it says, why can't you leave him hanging up overnight? Because it says it's a disgrace to the king. A person is made in the image of God. And the Jews also, especially the Jews, are called not only just the image of God, but they are the sons of God. This is like two brothers that are twins, and one of them became a king, and the other one became a robber. Anyone who sees the robber hung up, they'll say, wow, isn't that the king? Look at that. Look, it looks like the king. So it's a big disgrace for the king. So it is also here in this case. A negative commandment. Do not see shor achicha, the ox of your brother, or seyo, or his sheep, nidachim, pushed away, wandering around, visalam tamiham, and hide from them. Heshiv tashiven lachicha. You have to return it back, right? Is hey, that's Shmerel's sheep. Look over there. It says, let's look over somewhere else because the sheep is. I don't want to take it back there. I don't want to. It's going to be a big schlep for us to take it all the way back there. No, you're not allowed to. Don't be salamta. Don't hide your eye from him. Lo tireh oto v'italamta mimenu. Zel peshuta. Rabbis say, pamim shata mitalem. It says, don't see the ox of your friend or his sheep wandering around and hide your eye from him. Why does it say it could have just said it very simply. Lo tit alem, don't hide from the ox and the sheep of your friend that's wandering around. Here it seems to say don't see it, and you can hide your eye from them. So it says the fact is there are certain times when you can. It says that if you're a very honorable person, and it's not according to your position to drag a sheep through the street to your friend, or if you happen to be a Kohen and you see the sheep is wandering around in the graveyard, and a Kohen is not allowed to go to the graveyard. So there's a time when you are not obligated to return it. Im lo korav achicha elecha v'lo yadato v'asafto al beitho. But what should you do if your brother, the one who lost the sheep, is not close to you, and he doesn't know anything about the sheep being lost? So you have to gather it to his house, or to your house. I'm sorry, take it into your house, and then hold on to it until your brother looks for it. In other words, you find a wandering sheep, and you don't know who it belongs to, but you know it doesn't belong to you. And it's a type of thing that has a sign on it. So it could be the owner did not give up on it. So you have to take care of it. Can you charge him for it? It says, maybe you can think that, well, it says, first of all, it says, ad dorosh achicha, you have to check your brother. What does it mean, check your brother? Someone knocks on the door and says, excuse me, did you find anything that's been lost lately? You say, yeah, I lost a sheep. Oh, yeah, my sheep. It could be the person is just a liar, and he's just tricking. Or he heard, right, Shmerel back in town saying, oh, my sheep wandered around. So this fellow goes and knocks on people's doors and say, hey, I lost a sheep. Did you find my sheep? And he's like, so it says, that's what it says. Dorshu shaloya ramai. You have to check him out to see that he himself is not lying to you. But nevertheless, you leave it in the house, but it shouldn't eat in your house the value of itself. So therefore, anything that you can, if you can use it to work with, so then you can. So therefore, let's say you find a sheep, right? What are you going to do with the sheep? So if you can, let's say, shear it and sell the things and sell the wool, you don't have to take out of your pocket in order to feed it. You don't have to lose money on this lost item. You have to hold on to the item. If you can do something with it, let's say it's an ox, you can plow with it, so plow. Then give him the money from the plowing. And what if it doesn't make the money? So sell it. Sell it and give the person the money. Give the person who lost the money. Kaintas also, you should do the same thing to his donkey, also to his garment, also to anything that his brother lost. And the Gemara explains why it has to bring all these different details. Just say anything that's lost. What does it have to bring all these details? Okay, next, don't see the donkey of your brother or his ox falling in the road and hide your eye from it. Help him to lift up his donkey. He says, not just to lift up the donkey. He says, Rashi, zet ta'ina. This is talking about putting the burden back on the donkey, a burden that fell on its own. So you says, imo. You have to work together with him. If the person says, okay, the stuff fell off of my donkey, put it back on. I'll be right back. Then you don't have to. You can say, listen, I only have to help you. I don't have to do it all myself. Therefore, do it. There should not be a garment of a man on a woman, and not the garment of a man should not put the garment of a woman. So it says, the garment of a man should not be on a woman, and a man should not put women's garments on, because it's a disgusting thing to God, anyone who does this. It says that she should be a woman puts man's garments on to be similar to a man, in order that she should be walking among the men. The only reason this is done is only for, decadence. And the same way, the other way around, a man should not put on women's garments. Some other people say that this is a little bit more. A man should not remove the hairs of his, from his body, his pubic hairs and other places to make himself look beautiful or whatever. I don't know about swimmers. It says the swimmers could be that you have to ask a rabbi if it's permissible. I think that it is. Because this is a disgusting thing and you shouldn't do it. Here we have an interesting, bizarre law. If you happen to come across a bird nest that's on the way, you happen to come across it in your travels, and you're walking. If it's on a tree or even if it's on the ground, and there are chicks or eggs, and the mother is roosting on those chicks or on the eggs, don't take the mother alone from the eggs. This is only talking about if you happen, ki yikare. It's not talking about if you grow, let's say, doves in your house or chickens or something like that. There's not the commandment. Beautiful, huge, long Ramban. There's a story, what is it in the Gemara that, who was it? I don't remember, I'm sorry. Anyway, one of the Tanaim, he passed away and his son was weeping. His father passed away. And his son was saying, God, you gave us the commandments, your commandments. You have the commandments also. You have a commandment not to take away the mother, there's the parent, from the children. And that's what you did. You took my father away from me. How can you do it? And he cried so much that his father came back to life. And then after that, it says he asked his father, well, what did you see? There's also a story the other way around. He said, I saw an upside down world. What was important down here is not important up there. And it was not important. Simple people down here, they're very important in the upper worlds. He said, you saw a true world, that's the true world. The true world is people who are big shots over here, and they think that they're really special. Things are exactly the opposite of what we think. Shalach ta'im, send the mother away, take the children to you, in order to be good for you, and you'll have long life. I'd like to take more time, but I'd like to make progress also. Here he says, the Safrono, he says, maybe we can, in the merit of this little bit of kindness, what type of kindness? He takes the children by sending the mother away, there's a certain type of kindness to people, namely that he doesn't destroy the birds of the field, that they're hefker, and that's what he means. He sends away the mother so that she can have more children. If he takes away the mother from the children, then what happens? The children, they'll die because nobody's taking care of them, and the mother also, you're going to eat it. So this little tiny bit of kindness that you're doing, that you're taking the children, by means of this, a person, it says, will merit the fruits of this world and the benefits of the world to come. It says, it'll be good for you, and you'll have long life for this little tiny kindness. So imagine if you do more kindness. All right, here we go. When you build a new house, you should make a fence around the roof. Do not put blood on your house when the fallen person falls from it. Says, what does it mean? It's a fallen person. When the person falls from, what does it mean, the fallen person? So Rashi says, this person that falls down, he was supposed to be punished. He did something wrong. Who knows? This incarnation, the previous incarnation, whatever it was, God decided this person should fall off of a building. But nevertheless, but you don't have to be the one that kills him. That good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. In other words, if God forbid something happens that's not good, it means that there's a reason that it happened. So therefore, you can avoid it. You can avoid it. One of the ways you avoid it is by doing this commandment. The commandment itself is a holy thing. The commandment protects. But if a person does not do this commandment, so he's already not good. He didn't put a fence around this, he did not good. So he's fitting that God should arrange that a person that is supposed to fall off of a building for whatever he did, he'll fall off of your building, right? The building that your house. Don't kilayim. Don't plant kilayim together. Remember, we learned these laws. Don't plant mixture of seeds together. Here we're talking about only in your vineyard. In your vineyard, he says chita, wheat, barley, and chartzam, whatever it is, and grapes, the mapolas yad, to throw them out at once. Why? Because anything which is disgusting to a person, whether it's for good, you have to keep away from it. Like, it's good, whether like the Beit HaMikdash or the Ganai, like something that's forbidden, as it's relevant to the name Kadosh. Kadosh means something that you separate yourself from. So either it could be something good or bad. Here it says if you plant wheat and grain and grapes together, it becomes Kadosh, which means you have to separate yourself. Next commandment. Don't plow with an ox, ubachamor, and a donkey together. This is, says Rashi, this is any two types in the world. One is kosher and the other one's not kosher. Rashi doesn't seem to say that, though. This is the law also, not just to, even to draw them together, right? You tie an ox together with a dog or something, who knows what, a sheep with a dog, and you start plowing, even if you're not standing behind them. You just say, okay, let's move. Right? You're not allowed to use them together. Here he says, Balatorim is tar v'tameh, a permissible animal and a forbidden animal. This is also hinted at that Statev Tzadik in Russia. Good people should not, be partners with bad people. Don't put on garments of shatnez. We learned that today. Wool and flax woven together. Shatnez, the word shatnez implies mixing it together. Rabbis say, shua tavoy venuz, that they say either they are like beaten together, woven together, or sewed up together. Gedilim ta'aselacha. Oh, we didn't do this commandment. You should put tzitzit, garment, on your corners of your garment, called gedilim, on the four corners of your garment. That's covered. What does this have to do with shatnez? It comes right after the content of shatnez. So it says, even if these are shatnez, it says that even if you have a linen garment and the blue strand on your tzitzit, they used to have a strand of blue. Nowadays it says, since the temple was destroyed, a lot of people, Chabad among them, they say that we don't know what this blue color is anymore. There are some say that we do. There's a Rebbe of Rudziner Rebbe says that we do know what it is, and he says that we can dye it. But Chabad, and also there's others also that say that we don't. In any case, those people who do, they're not doing a sin, but we don't do it. It says even though that the garment is wool and linen, nevertheless it's a positive commandment to wear tzitzit. And that will end today's lesson. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, see you tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning for Chassidut and Dvar Malchut.